We are back with another extra special guest. This all started the other day when I woke up in the morning and ClearScore had sent me a notification saying, you have a new score to check. They always do this. Fucking clickbait as fuck. I click on the ClearScore app expecting to see the same old, your score is stable, nothing's changed. Anyway, my score's gone up. I think it was either 50 or 80 points. It's huge for me. So my score boosted up. So I started thinking then, what makes the score go up and down? And then my man Elis Roberts come in and give me some advice. Hopefully he's going to be joining any second now. 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon.
What's happening? You right?
Yeah, I'm not bad. How's it going?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming on. So the difference with the other guests and you is we've only been speaking for the last few weeks or month or so.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but you expressed some interest in the credit score. You said you know a few things about it,
Yeah.
and it's one of the subjects a lot of people have been asking questions about. But it's a bit bit of a misty. You know, no one really knows what's going on.
No.
So we're only going to cover the basics here. But I feel like covering the basics is a good way for a lot of people to start out.
Definitely. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So going with the first question, because obviously we're always short of time. What, in your opinion, are the three top things that are hurting people's credit scores right now?
So the top three things, the first and most important thing, without a doubt, is defaulting on payments. So essentially, when you take out loans or you've got credit cards and things like that, they all have minimum monthly payments that you need to pay off. If you don't pay off the minimum payments, that's classed as a default, and that really negatively impacts your credit score. So the best thing to do in that instance is to set up a direct debit for the monthly minimum payments, but the aim is to pay off your balance in full every month to avoid the interest rates and things like that. So that's the most important thing. Do not default on your payments. Whatever you do, just make sure to make the minimum monthly payments that you can, and that will avoid you dropping credit scores.
Yeah.
The second thing is not to apply for too many credit cards in a short space of time. Each time you make an application for a credit card or a loan, it results in a hard check on your credit file, and each hard check will decrease your credit score marginally, but it will decrease it. So the best thing to avoid for these hard checks consistently is, if you're looking for credit cards, use eligibility checkers. You can use these from Money Supermarket, Go Compare, or even credit report companies like Experian and Equifax, ClearScore. They all provide eligibility checkers that perform soft searches rather than hard searches. So you can get a better understanding of what sort of credit you're eligible for without detriment in your credit score. And also, when you're making a lot of applications for different credits, it sort of shows these creditors that you're desperate for cash, which isn't a good look.
Yeah, of course.
And then I'd say the third one is it's going to be a bit of contested territory. Some people might disagree with this, but I would say to avoid joint accounts. So I'll give you an anecdotal example. A friend of mine, he was with his girlfriend for about 4 or 5 years. They'd had a house together, and they'd set up a joint account. On this joint account, they'd financed like a sofa and a TV and furniture for the flat. And a couple of years later, they split up. So my friend, he made all the necessary amendments. He paid off his balances, what he felt he owed. He made those payments. But his ex-girlfriend at the time didn't bother. She just left nothing of it. And because of that, they both defaulted on multiple accounts, resulting in huge deductions in my friend's credit score. Now, I know, if you're married, your husband or your wife, you've got joint accounts together, the prospect or the idea of divorce doesn't want to cross people's minds, and I get that, but you've just got to be so careful. And I feel like joint accounts are a really slippery slope if you're not careful. So
would you say with the joint accounts, if you're going to have one, maybe be prepared to cover both of those payments? If like, maybe you can have a joint account with your girlfriend, but you've got a plan, maybe at some point, maybe you don't split up, maybe she loses her income. Maybe something like that. So you've got to be prepared. Maybe I've got to cover the sofa payment in full. Going back to what you said about ClearScore as well. They offer you, because I've got it on my phone. It's probably not the best way to keep track of credit score, but it works for me. And they will offer you so many credit card offers in a row, and it's almost tempted to be like bing, 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 and take all of it. But I understand once you leave ClearScore and go onto the credit card site, that's when they're performing these hard searches.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
you've got to be
Yeah.
careful about not selecting. It's very tempting because they're like, yeah, 10 grand,
Yeah.
offering you all this money. But yeah, don't, if you want to do it, just, you're saying space out over some time.
Yes, yeah. So definitely space it out. And if you were to apply for a certain credit card, let's say Amex, for instance, American Express, and you get declined, I wouldn't advise going, even if you wait 2-3 months later, I wouldn't advise trying a different credit provider. I'd stick with Amex, apply for Amex again.
Okay.
It shows that you're being consistent with your applications, which is good.
That's very interesting. Okay, so on to the next question. Apart from getting out credit cards and loans, what do we need a credit score for? Why is it important?
So my friends ask me this all the time because I'm adamant and I push it on my mates. You need to be boosting your credit scores. It's so important for credit utilization and things like this. And it's always the same. Well, how does a credit score benefit me? So there's obviously, there's the ones that everyone knows. It's your mortgages, credit, and things like that. But essentially, you have good credit. It allows you to apply for better mortgages. You get better interest rates. You get higher overdrafts, better credit card deals. You're just trusted so much more from a banking governmental perspective. They know that they can trust you, and that allows you to be able to leverage more funds, which is what we all want at the end of the day. So.
It's true, actually, because if someone with a bad credit score got a loan and someone with a good credit score got the same loan, the one with the bad score is paying way more interest. Am I wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Your bad credit score is actually costing you money. Whenever you want to get any debt out, it's going to cost you money. And on top of that, I've got an anecdotal one where my landlord sold the house. I had to go to the estate agent on the unexpected one, and they said to me straight away, "What's your credit score?" And I was like, "You guys check that?" Not that it was bad, but I was just. They actually asked me that, and they said, "Yeah, of course, we do a credit check on you." They did, was fine, but I did think, damn, if 18-year-old or 20-year-old Josh had turned up in this estate agent, they would have kicked me out the door straight away. So a bit scary to think if you've got bad credit, you might not be able to rent a place as well.
It is, yeah. And again, another anecdotal, like I know, so one of my mother's friends who's, she does really well in life, but she's never taken out a loan. She's never taken out credit of any sorts. And her credit score is terrible. Right. But she's got a great house, lovely car, and all these things. But when it comes to credit, she can't finance cars, she can't take out loans because she just never built that credit score up from a young age. So it's super important, even if you don't think that you need credit or you don't want to take out a credit card, which is absolutely fine. Just work on that credit score because you never know when you might want to buy a house or something like that, and it will get affected. So
yeah, I think when we're late teens, early 20s, not many people I didn't really care about it. I was like, it's not gonna. But I'll tell my son now, you need to protect that from an early age because some things stick with you for 6, maybe 10 years sometimes. Or I guess it can stick with you forever if it's really bad. So tell us more about credit utilization. What's the optimum sort of credit utilization?
So maybe I'll explain a bit of credit utilization for your viewers because some of them might not know exactly what it is. So let's say you've got a credit card and it's got £1,000 balance on it. If you were to spend £500 of that £1,000 balance, you have hit a 50% credit utilization rate. So you're spending 50% of your credit. What creditors want to see is that you utilize a certain percentage of credit, which is usually around 30%, and that you don't go over those payments. It shows that you have loads of opportunity for credit, but you're being sensible and you're not spending it all. So with credit utilization, generally there's one, but then it gets to about 3, 4, 5 different types of credit. So if you were to have one credit card with £1,000 limit and you've spent 500, you're at 50% credit utilization. If you were to have 2 cards, both with £1,000 limit on it, on one you spent £200 and on the other you spent 300, you amalgamate them, you're now at a 50% credit limit. But then also you then have to look at both individual cards. They will both also have a credit utilization rate. So there's 3 in total. You've got the singular ones and then the combined ones. Okay. It's very important to monitor those. You don't want it going over 30% credit utilization on either card at your statement date. Mm-hmm. So each credit card, when you get a credit card, you'll be given a statement date. Let's say it's the 15th of October. If you have used over 30% of your credit utilization on that date, on the 15th of October, it shows creditors that you're not really good at managing your money properly. So ideally, when you take out credits or you take out loans, the first thing you want to do is figure out what your statement date is and set up direct debits a couple of days before the statement date to make sure that when that statement comes out, it shows that you're repaying those loans at a proper rate.
So really, you're saying if you had £1,000 credit card, you should be treating it as if it was a £250 credit card. Or
exactly. Yes. Yeah. Bang
that's
on.
negative impact you. And I guess another thing, you've said it a couple of times now, is how you look to creditors. So they don't know you. They can't see your face, your situation. They just see what you're doing with those cards. And if it looks like you're a guy in a desperate situation, even though you might just think, oh, spend everything on the credit card, pay it back every month, it looks good. To them, they're thinking, wow, this guy's really relying on this credit card for everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're spot on.
It could sort of backfire how you think it might look well.
Yeah, massively. So the main thing that creditors look for is they want to see that you are stable and that you manage your money correctly. They don't want someone who is maxing out their credit cards every day, because it just shows that you're desperate for money, that you're not able to manage your funds properly and you're constantly spending. So it's super important to maximize, to minimize your credit utilization, just to show that you're responsible.
We've got a quick question. It says, is it better to not pay the smaller amounts straight away rather than wait till the end of the statement date to build up the money spent closer to that 30%? Does that make sense to you?
Bang on. That's bang on. So what you've got to think is if you were to spend £100 on your credit card and you paid it off instantly, when it then comes to the statement date, it doesn't look like you've made any spending because you paid it off.
So you can keep paying off throughout up to the 15th. You can pay off multiple times.
That's it, yeah. So usually I'll set up a direct debit for maybe £100 to £200 every Sunday, and anything over, I'll just pay that off in full prior to the statement date. So yeah, really good question. Super important not to pay it off instantly, because it's just pointless then. It just looks like you haven't been spending, so it doesn't benefit you in any way.
Okay, no problem. Are there any apps or services you would recommend to build your credit score? Like, I know there's something called Lockbox, things like that.
Yeah.
Before you go into the answer, is some of them I've noticed you put £5 in a month. It's a direct debit. It makes you look good. They keep the £5. They don't give that back to you. And some of them you put the £5 in, and it's a savings account, and you can access that anytime. Yeah. So, from my experience, I would say make sure you're not just paying them £5, £10, £15 a month for a direct debit. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. Because the thing is if you're not getting that money back, you may as well just buy something on finance. Yeah. And you're actually paying off, and you've got that product. So it doesn't make sense. But yeah, Lockbox, the one you mentioned, is really good. If your viewers want to look at it, it's LOQBOX, Lockbox. And essentially that's what it is. So it takes payments from you and it refunds it at a later date with marginal interest. It's not even worth even thinking about the interest, but it is there. And they refund you that at a later date. And what that does is it imitates credit payments. So it looks like you're taking out credit and you're paying it consistently through the month. So really good. If you've got a low credit score, that's one of the things that I would definitely suggest you do.
Yeah, fantastic. Because then the last question was, so someone watching this right now with a very low credit score, we're talking like can't get a house, can't get anything. What can they do today, straight away? What actionable steps can they take to start building up from immediate action sort of thing?
This is going to be an answer that a lot of people aren't going to like. Just be patient. Unfortunately, it's not a quick scheme. There's nothing that you can do really quickly. To build it to a really strong level, it's going to be a minimum of 6 to 18 months. Unfortunately, it's just how it goes. But there are a few things you can do. So first thing, most important thing is register for the electoral roll. If you haven't done it already, just register. That can boost your points by 50 to 100, which is a considerable amount. It just basically tells creditors that you've got a static place of abode and that you're trustworthy. So register to vote. For any of your young viewers, I would say if you've I think it's 16 that you can apply for provisional, whatever the date is, apply for provisional license as soon as you can. That will also boost your credit score a little bit. As with the electoral roll, it just shows that you've got a static place of abode. And then the third thing I would say would be to definitely check your credit file. Make sure that there's no missing payments that you've made. Let's say you lived in a flat 3 years ago and you took out a loan while you were there. You paid it all off. You were really good. But that address isn't on your credit file. You're never going to get the benefit of that loan. So definitely go through your credit file, look for any payments that don't look correct, any addresses that have been missed, any bank cards that have been missed, and you'd be surprised how adding them will boost it up quite significantly. And then I think the last thing I'd have to say would be, would be to take out the smallest type of loans you can. So I know if you've got really bad credit scores, credit cards in general are a myth. You can't get them, but they do have credit card builder cards. So credit score builder cards. So you've got Aqua, Capital One, Card, Platinum. I believe they're credit builders as well. And then you've got like the lesser known things like the Argos card, M&S card. They generally will have really, really low credit limits, but they're designed to help you boost them. So if you're the type of person that can't get a credit card, maybe look at an Argos card or something like that, or maybe a small very purchase, and just being sure that you're making those consistent payments, and that'll boost it over time. But you've just got to be patient.
Yeah.
If it's low, you just got to patiently work it out.
I think this person we're talking about who might have low credit watching, they know now from having low credit how important it is to start taking care of it. So from now, get the Argos card, make sure you're paying it off. Just, like you said right at the beginning, as you said, even if it's the minimum payment, I think you can even negotiate with the credit card people. You know, if the minimum payment's £2,000 a month or whatever, you can say, listen, I can only afford tenner, and they'll be like, okay, just give us, you know, you can negotiate with them to make get that payment in. But you're saying no matter what, make sure, even if in a very hard situation, the minimum payment is less than the interest you're being charged, make sure you're making the minimum payment. Just keep it. You just spiral down otherwise.
That's it. Ideally, pay it off in full, because the last thing you want to be doing is paying interest on that. If you've got a 26% interest card, you're going to be paying a lot in interest. So ideally, pay it off in full. You're not paying any interest, and it looks wicked. But I know that's not always the case. It's not always possible to do that. Just make sure you're making those minimums, and if you can make smaller balloon payments as well, do that. Yeah.
Fantastic advice. Thank you very much, Elis. Listen,
no worries, man.
We'll do this again soon, my friend. I really appreciate you on.
All good, man. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.